This video is brought to you by the EA Creator Network. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here in the base game world of Oasis Springs doing a speed build of a trailer park. Now I'm super excited for this build. I had so much fun with this, and it all came from my own noggin, so I'm feeling pretty proud of it. But basically this is the lot that Johnny Zest lives on originally, but it's just one trailer park, and I want to turn it into a residential rental and have multiple people live here because I think that's a lot more fun. Johnny Zest still lives on this lot, and in case you aren't sure who Johnny Zest is, it's a EA townie basically that comes with the Sims 4 base game. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. So if that sounds like something you're interested in watching, then make sure you grab yourself a drink, a snack, a blanket, get comfy, and let's get into it. Alright, so as I mentioned, this is Oasis Springs, which is just one of the 3 base game worlds with the Sims. This is the more, I want to say, desert-esque world, and this is a 40 by 30 lot, I want to say. You can see the name of the lot I'm building on the top left, which is the original lot that Johnny lives on. However, it was just his one trailer on this lot, which didn't take up much of the space, and it kind of felt like a waste of a really big lot. And because I'm all about creating lore and having lots of Sims and like intertwining storylines, I thought it'd be super fun to do a trailer park, because it's also just like a really cute idea to have like a bunch of little tiny homes on one lot. And I was in the mood to build some trailers. I'm not exactly sure where or why I was suddenly hit with the urge to build some trailers. Actually, that's a complete lie. I do. Basically, I was on Pinterest just browsing as one does, and I kept seeing a lot of these really cute interiors of trailer homes, and I just loved how small everything is and cramped it was, but the ones I was looking at was like cramped in a cozy way and not in a suffocating way. And so I really want to try and mimic that in the Sims. These end up being slightly more spacious than I would have liked. I feel like I could have made them 3 tiles wide instead of 4. For all of these trailer homes, they are 4 tiles wide, unless they have like a little bump out or something, in which case they might be slightly wider, but the base of them is like 4 by I think 8 or 9 tiles is like the generic box shape I did for all of them. I didn't stray too far for the shape of any of them. Like there's a couple with a few bump outs, but if anything I just kind of changed how the roofing looks or like the porch layout to try and add a bit of variety, but for the most part they're all relatively the same size. And like I said, this did come from my own brain. I wasn't necessarily copying any reference photo. Like it was kind of a whole mashup, I guess, of things I had been seeing, but none of them are like direct replicas, which is why I'm saying it's from my brain. But I mean, of course, there was still a little bit of external inspiration, as there always is. But yeah, I had a lot of fun building this. It was fun to not build directly from a reference for once, because it just felt like a bit of a rest on my well, you would think creating from a reference photo would feel more restful, but I think I enjoyed having the creative freedom to just kind of do what I want. So if this video is a little bit longer than my normal speed build length for the size of lot it is, but I mean, there is a lot of furnishing and decorating and whatnot, which I have a lot of fun with, but it might be slightly longer because since there is no reference photo, I had to make all the decisions myself. And if you guys know anything about me, you know I'm not good at making decisions. It is probably one of my least qualified areas. I can't make a decision to save my life, but I certainly tried. But that's why there might be several cuts or just like a long period of me trying to figure something out. We'll see if I cut those bits out or not, depending on how long they actually are, but maybe it'll be nice for you guys to see a little bit more of the process that I usually cut out. I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. But essentially, the main ones I wanted to decorate were, well, first off, Johnny Zest's home, because he is a townie I want to keep in my save file. I am going to give him a little bit of an overhaul though, and there's going to be a little bit of tangents here while I try and formulate my thoughts, but essentially I created all these Sims in CAS, so I will go ahead and put up the pictures of them on the screen when I'm talking about them if I can remember, and if I'm too lazy to go in and individually look for each timestamp where I talk about the specific Sims, I will just put them all up on the screen now for you guys. But basically I gave a revamp to Johnny Zest and I created some other Sims. This lot ends up having, I think, 6 Sims living here total. So there's Johnny Zest, who lives in that house with the grass deck right now. I end up changing it to metal, but it's grass right now with like the little ladder, so that's his home. And then to the right of that there ends up being a young adult girl who is taking care of her little brother, who ends up being a child sim. And then to the right of that home is, I had a really fun idea where I thought I would do like a rundown kind of empty trailer, so that if you guys want to play on this lot, you can move your Sims into this trailer and kind of renovate it as it goes on. It could be a fun like rags to riches sort of thing. I made it pretty grimy in there, so I think it could be fun for your Sims to like move in with that state and then kind of, I guess, polish it over time. It does have all the basics, all the things you need for a functioning home. It's just not decorated. It just has a bunch of like cobwebs and scuffs on the walls and like weird stains on the carpet. So I thought that would be a pretty fun idea, and I put a little for rent sign on it as well, so that like, you know, it's kind of occupied, and it's been vacant for a while, which is why I imagine it looks like that. But yeah, I just thought that would be super fun. And instead of like filling up all the trailers, and then if you guys want to play in this lot you would have to delete a family, I thought it'd be fun to just leave one empty so you can kind of create what you want out of it. And yeah, and then to the right of that one ends up being, I'm thinking sort of like a bachelor, like silver fox type man living in that trailer. I really like the idea that he has the aura and okay, like the aura and essence of wanting to be a millionaire, but he just doesn't have the funds to match it. Like, I feel like he acts as though he is extremely rich, but he is not. And I thought that'd be a pretty funny storyline, or at least something fun to play with. And I did try to connect like all of these Sims for the most part, which I'll get into a little bit more as we work on their individual trailers when I'm decorating and whatnot, because I think it'll be easier to follow. But the last trailer is the one to the left of Johnny Zest's house, across from the Silver Fox trailer. Hopefully this will make sense as we go on, but this beige house I'm working on right now, it's the one right across from that with the red roof. That ends up being a little girly pop cottagecore pink classy, well, actually I'm not sure classy the word, cutesy is I think the word I was looking for, trailer for, you know, a girly pop. And I thought that'd be really fun. So that's kind of the overview of each Sim that lives here. If you guys don't enjoy the storylines or want different Sims here, by all means move in whoever you feel suits this, like, or suits that specific trailer best, and you guys can go ham, create your own storylines if you want, but this is just what I'm going for my save file. I think I'm going to wait to give you the individual storylines for each Sim until we get to the interior decorating, just because I think it'll be a little bit easier to track, since you can put like a face to the place or a place to the face. But before we get into that, because we've still got a little bit to go, I'm going to talk about what I'm doing right now, which is essentially just laying out the trailer park. So I wanted to go for like this semi half circle kind of thing. I was looking at layout inspiration for the trailer parks, but none of them were really speaking to me as something that could translate well into the Sims, because a lot of them were like these rows of trailers, and then I felt like you wouldn't get a nice overview of each individual trailer, so I opted to go for like this half circle sort of thing. And I really like it because I ended up using the center as sort of a communal area. I put a little bonfire from Horse Ranch from there, and then attached some little chairs to it so all the Sims can come and sit around the fire. And yeah, I also have a couple of these individual yard areas. For one of the yards, the one for like the bachelor type fella, he has a terrain paint yard with some grass that is very much not thriving in these desert conditions. And then the other homes have these grass patches that I imagine are turf, like not actual pieces of grass, like it's not real grass, it's fake. And so I did those, and I kind of like the idea of that like harsh juxtaposition between like the desert and then like this really fake vibrant grass that they used to pretend is like yard and whatnot. And I thought that was super fun. The abandoned house ends up having that turf yard, but I don't put anything there because I'd imagine it's abandoned. But now that I think about it, I feel like it might have been a nice thing to put like a swing set there, just so there's another activity for the kid on this lot. Though he does have, I would say, a fair amount. I gave him like a bike and a kiddie pool, and there's like the towels so people can suntan. I also put the marbles from For Rent out here. And I think I even gave him a couple of toys inside the actual trailer. So there is like several kid activities here, but maybe I could put a swing set back there before I put it on the gallery, or you guys could add it. I also think it's just kind of like eerie to have a swing set behind an abandoned trailer. I don't know. I feel like that trailer on its own could be like a very creepy thing. Like maybe there's some spooky history that went down in that trailer. And I was also thinking, because this is a residential rental, you can actually select lot traits for the specific houses instead of the lot overall. So I was thinking maybe it'd be fun for the abandoned trailer to have some, I guess, questionable lot traits or things that make it a lot harder to have a quality home, I guess. Like there's lot traits like gremlins where things break all the time, or there's like creepy crawlies where there's always like insects and whatnot. So I think it could be fun to like further emphasize the abandonedness of it, or like the creepiness of it, and have your sim played out like that. I honestly might play a little bit myself and try and renovate that trailer because I think it could be pretty fun. I don't do much gameplay, but recently there has been a part of me who has really wanted to create a sim who makes their money off of baking, because I recently got the Home Chef Hustle game pack. Is it a game pack? I think it's a stuff pack. I think it's a stuff pack. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But with that, there's this table where you can sell your baked goods, basically. And I want to test that out because I think it'd be super fun. Usually I just like opt for my sim to live off the land, be a gardener in Hemford-on-Bagley. But I kind of want to mix it up because I also really love, you know, developing the cooking skill in The Sims, because I think it's so fun to see all the different recipes, especially now because they keep adding so many different ones and there's so many new ones that come with each pack. So I think it'd be really fun to kind of just explore that whole side. And I don't usually get to explore baking as much because my Sims are always cooking because they have to, you know, live, but they're not always baking because that doesn't necessarily fill up their hunger the best. So I think it could be fun to explore that, and then just also play on this lot because I really love how this lot came out. I'm very proud of this build. It took a decent chunk of time, but I definitely think it was worth it. And I really enjoy doing these builds where it's a bunch of smaller homes on one lot. Like you might have seen, I'm trying to think of examples, but you know, where I've done the Willow Creek Apartments and maybe those 2 houses, 1 lot kind of thing. I have a lot of fun doing multiple homes on one lot because it just gives me the opportunity to explore several different aesthetics without getting too roped into just one if I was doing, say, like one single family home, you know? So I was thinking that's super fun. And on the topic of doing multiple little lots, I am super excited because I do have a long play coming up very soon where I create a summer camp with a bit of a spooky twist. Now that is thanks to one of you guys. If I can remember, I'll put the comment up on the screen now, but if I can't, it will be in the long play. Like, you will get credit. Thank you so much. I loved the comment. It really inspired me. But yeah, that's going to be hopefully my next one if my computer agrees with me and, you know, can help chug out a, I don't know, 5-hour long video because this computer is on its last legs. I'm still waiting on my new one to arrive. It's supposed to come between June 5th and June 13th. However, I keep going into my email to see if there's been any updates on it, and it hasn't. It still says they're gathering parts, which I'm not going to panic until it gets past June 13th, but I just really wish I could see some sort of progress because I am very impatient and I really want my new computer. But also, the days it's supposed to come, I actually end up being very busy and I'm kind of away from home for most of it because, exciting news, my graduation comes up next week as I'm recording this. The day I'm recording this, it's a Thursday. So next week, I will be graduating on the Wednesday. But I think by the time this video goes up, it will be the same week as the week I'm graduating. So that's really complicated, and I definitely explained that in probably not the best way. but the general point is that I am graduating on a Wednesday, and then from there I'm gonna go stay with my boyfriend, and then from there I'm driving up north to go to a cottage with my friends, which will be so fun as a little graduation celebration thing. And I'm really hoping the weather holds out. It's been very rainy where I've been, and honestly not warm at all. You would not think that June is gonna be in a couple of days. So I'm really hoping the weather will be on our side, because I just want to swim and sit on a dock in the sun and read and swim some more. And I think it's going to be so fun. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of driving. I think maybe about 4 hours of driving. So I really have to mentally lock in, because that's a very long time to be driving. And I will probably have to take a really big nap when I get there. And yeah, so that's kind of my little life update for all of you. I'm trying to think if there's any other big things. Oh yeah, there is actually. I have some very exciting news. I got my first illustration gig out of school, and I'm so excited. I'm not gonna share like the organization or the company that I'm doing it for right now, because I'm not really sure if that feels like an invasion of privacy or whatnot, but essentially someone reached out to me asking to create book covers for this organization, and so that's what I'm doing. I started reading the stories today. I've started formulating some thoughts, but I just think it's so cool that now I'm actually doing this like outside of a school context. Like, people actually want my art for, you know, legit things, so that's super fun. And yeah, I think those would kind of be my biggest updates right now, but you can see that the lot has kind of taken shape now. There's not too much else that I'm going to do on the exterior. You can see that for once, I actually decided to include the decorating of like the porches and the yards. I don't typically do this because it's usually not my favorite thing to do, so I prefer to just like turn off my recording and just get it done, and then I show it in the little tour at the end. But for this one, I thought it was a lot more fun because they were much smaller sizes, and the yards could really tell you a lot about the person who was living inside the trailer, and so I had a lot of fun with that. For the pink trailer, they've got probably the biggest yard, and I gave them a picnic table and a picnic basket and a little cute bike. And then for the house with the kid, they have the second biggest yard with like some planters in the pool like I mentioned, and then Johnny Zest has that little rooftop deck where he's got like this water heater thing on the top because I thought it was a nice structural element, and then he's also got a little towel and a telescope so he can like stargaze and whatnot. And like I may or may not have mentioned, there is a good amount of lore in this, and like the Sims are intertwined. And little spoiler, it's not really a spoiler because I'm going to get into it in maybe like 10 minutes, but Johnny Zest and the woman who lives to the right of him in like that beigey trailer, the one who takes care of her younger sibling, I was thinking he has a crush on her or they're actively dating. I was thinking more crush. We'll get into that in a little bit when I switch to their trailers, but I was thinking it could be cute if maybe he like took her up to watch the stars off of the rooftop of his trailer. So that was kind of the thinking for that. I also put a basketball hoop just as another activity. It seemed like something Johnny Zest might have. I'm not sure he's maybe the most active guy, but I think maybe it was there, and sometimes he likes to play. Or here's another thought that I just thought of now. Maybe he's not the most avid user of it, but the girl who lives in the trailer next to him is, and so he wants to take up basketball as like an excuse to hang out with her. That could be kind of cute. I really like the idea that she's very reserved and maybe not looking for anyone, maybe even has the unflirty trait, and Johnny Zest is very much in love with her, but she's not too interested. Not in a way where he's like, you know, overstepping boundaries, but I think she just sees it as like a platonic thing, but he's actually hopelessly in love with her. And maybe at some point they'll get together. Will they, won't they? I don't know. But yeah, I kind of just told you guys the plot before I even got to their trailers, but I'm sure I'll expand on it as I get to it. I was trying to keep the video fairly organized because there is a lot of different homes and a lot of different Sims to follow. So yeah. But now you can see we have moved on into the very first trailer, which ends up being the pink cutesy cottagecore one. This is very much a trailer I could see myself living in, though I would probably substitute some of the pink. I love pink, but this might be a little bit too much pink for my personal taste. I would like to see a lot more green and probably orange and maybe a little bit of yellow. There's a little bit of yellow already, but like green is my favorite color, so I'd probably swap out some of the things. But also, can we talk about how unappreciated pink and green is as a color combination? I feel like nobody really thinks of it, or they like think it's too close to red and green, which feels like Christmas. But I also love red and green as a color combination if done correctly. It doesn't always have to give Christmas, but pink and green is a color combo that I have very much been loving recently, probably because it's like springtime. It makes me think of tulips and just spring basically. I didn't go for pink and green in this trailer specifically. It's more of a pink and yellow if anything, but essentially just pink. So that was a bit of a tangent, but it's just been on the brain recently. And also it makes me think of strawberry matcha, and I am a matcha girl through and through. Not always a strawberry matcha girl, but I am a matcha girl. This morning I made myself the most delicious Earl Grey matcha. Oh my gosh, if you guys are matcha drinkers, here's my recommendation for you. You're gonna take an Earl Grey tea bag and you're going to steep it a little bit, and then if you have vanilla syrup, I use that, but if you don't, you can just use sugar and like dissolve it in the tea while it steeps. And then once it's steeped for maybe, I'd give it like at least 5 minutes, then you take a little bit of that with your matcha and then your milk and then stir it all together, and you get the most delicious beverage ever. And it's so yummy. I don't know if you guys know what a London fog is, but essentially it's Earl Grey tea with vanilla and milk. So it's basically a lemon fog with matcha. And I make it iced. You can have it hot for sure, but I personally am an iced beverage girl. So that's what I made this morning, and it was absolutely delicious. Highly recommend you try it. And if you guys do try it, give me a review in the comments. Maybe you won't like it, in which case I did not recommend it. I am innocent. No, I'm just kidding. You can blame me if you don't like it, but I personally love it. But I am very much a tea enthusiast. I love a cup of tea, and I love some matcha, and I love a latte, and this is just the best of all those things. But anyways, I am going on quite a few tangents. You can see that we have finished the little kitchen area. I love how the kitchen came out. It's super, I guess, squished or cramped, but not in a way that, you know, makes me feel like I can't breathe. I think it's cramped in like a cozy, cute way, probably because of the decorations I used. But I used the fridge from the new kitchen clutter kit, which I'm still addicted to and can't stop using, and then I also used the stove from the restoration workshop kit in the renovated color swatch, which I got from Debug, so my sim didn't actually have to use it. And I also put this little pink sheep rug, which we got from Horse Ranch, in the kitchen because I thought it was super cute. And I really tried to make everything feel like it was built in, because the thinking is that they are trailer homes. Sorry, I paused because I had a bit of a hiccup coming on, but they are supposed to be trailer homes, with the thought being that they theoretically could move if they needed to. Like, you could hitch them to a car and pull them. However, I'm thinking these are very much planted in place and aren't going anywhere, but for the reason that they maybe once moved, I wanted everything to be built in so that it wouldn't like shift as, you know, you moved the trailer. A couple things to mention quickly before I move on is that for all of these trailers, I did cut out me doing the wallpaper and flooring like I usually do, and the floor plan, and the bathrooms. The bathrooms, it was terrible footage because they're these 1x3 tile bathrooms. They do function, but you can't really get a good view of anything, and since I had so many things on the walls, it was just blocking your view, so I really just did them off camera. But you will see them in the tour in the end if you are curious. So that's one thing to mention. And then figuring out the layouts and stuff, you know, hurt the old brain. So I decided to do that off camera as well, so you guys wouldn't have to see all the indecision and whatnot. I tried to include as much of the basics that every sim needs for the house, plus a little bit extra in each trailer. So each house has a fully functional kitchen, a dining room, some sort of seating area. It might not necessarily be like an individual living room, but there is a TV in every build. There is, all of this applies with the exception of the rundown trailer, but there's a TV, a couch, a bed, a bathroom, a dresser, a mirror, a sink. All of those things are included. And then I try to include a couple of hobby things, but some of these places need, or some of these hobbies need a lot more space than I guess I could give them with the size of these trailers. But I tried my best. In this one, she ends up being an artist. I gave her a little easel and also some crochet. And I was thinking that this sim is friends with the other young adult sim on this lot, who's not Johnny Zest, the girl who lives, I guess, at the top of the semicircle. I was thinking that they're good friends, and I feel like she's trying to play matchmaker between Johnny Zest and this other sim, because she realizes that Johnny is really in love with her, but she's not really cluing in. And so I thought it'd be cute if she plays matchmaker. And I was thinking that she is very much like cottagecore girly who loves other girlies, and therefore her and Johnny Zest are, maybe, I'm not gonna say they're the closest of friends, but I feel like she likes to help give him girly pop advice. Yeah, that was kind of the basic thinking for that. When I was originally building this, I was wondering if it should be this sim in this trailer and Johnny Zest, who might like have crushes on each other, but she was just giving girly pop who loves other girly pops. So that's what I'm gonna go with. And I just really like her cottagecore vibe, so that's what I'm rolling with for here. I also gave her a little guitar because it was like a small enough scale item, and if it doesn't function there, you can also put it in your Sims inventory and then like take it outside and they can play it there. So yeah, and I really liked that I gave her the bay window because I could put a couple of different like plants and lamps and things like that to make it look super cute. And I also got to use this paranormal shelf, which you can see on the wall to the left. I love this shelf. This shelf is so underrated. Well, I'm sure people appreciate it and love the shelf, but I feel like I don't get to use it that much because it's got a very specific style to it, and I felt like it really suited this sim, so I decided to add it. It's a bit more purple than pink, but it's okay. I'll accept it. I love it regardless. And it has this dangling plant that's built into it, which I love. And yeah, love that shelf. I love the amount of clutter in there, and I tried to make everything built in by using like the base game cabinets and kind of adjusting their position on the wall. So a lot of these beds end up being merged into the wall a little bit with like surrounding cabinetry, so it looks like the bed is built into the trailer. Now, I haven't play tested this, and if I'm being completely honest with you guys, there's a high chance I won't because I am very lazy. So if there is any issues with it, you can always leave a comment down below and I can try and troubleshoot it for you and figure out why it's doing that. But for certain things, or like spacing, I tried my best to make sure it would be okay and leave like a one tile space between most things. And the beds should all be functional. Like, I don't think having the cabinets at the base would, you know, stop your Sims from being able to get into it, because they enter kind of at the top where the pillows are. So everything should be okay, but of course if it's not, you know, leave a comment and I can try and figure it out for you. But I don't really have the willpower to go in and play test everything. I just want to build. So yeah, that's like my little disclaimer. But now you can see that we've moved on from the first Sims trailer onto the next, which is Johnny Zest's home. So for him, I tried to go for a darker brown tone, and I used these base game cabinets, and then I used this fridge from Snowy Escape, which looks wooden, so it really looks like it's built into the cabinetry, which I really liked. And in case you're wondering, the paneling I'm using on the inside here is from Businesses and Hobbies. This is like a new vertical wood paneling we got, which is absolutely gorgeous. I honestly think it might look a bit too modernized or pristine for the vibe I was going for. I wanted the interior of all these trailers to feel very dated, and the newness of this, like the texturing on this wallpaper, I guess, kind of makes it feel more of like a modern wallpaper, I guess. But it's okay. It did what I needed it to do, and it's okay if it's not the most dated looking, because I think it's really gorgeous. Oh yeah, the other thing is I try to include a washer and dryer for all of these Sims, and if they don't have one, for example, the girl in the first trailer, she doesn't have one because I gave her the wash basin and the clothesline, so she still has a way to you know, wash her clothes and whatnot, but just without the actual laundry thing. The laundry machine should be in everyone else's trailer though, so I was thinking that she could maybe like hop over and borrow someone's laundry machine if she needed. I imagine this is a very community-based trailer park. Like I think everyone knows everyone and everyone's willing to like lend a helping hand, I guess. There's no real beef on this trailer park, or in this trailer park, I suppose. I tried to keep everything very civil. I think the most disconnected sim on this lot is like the bachelor one that I have off in the corner. I'm still trying to figure out how to kind of tie them all in together. I think maybe he likes to mentor Johnny. I don't know, maybe he likes to give him like business advice, because once again, I like to think that he acts as though he is a millionaire when he's really not, unless he secretly is and he just lives in a trailer as an undercover. I'm not, maybe there could be something fun there. Or maybe he got like kicked out of his house and was made to go live in the trailer. Maybe he used to be a millionaire, lost all his money. I don't know. I think I could make it kind of interesting. But of course, if you guys have any ideas on maybe the personalities or storylines or things I could add, let me know, because I'm always down to add a bit more lore into my builds. And yeah, so for Johnny's home, I tried to go for like a coolish aesthetic, but with like lots of colorful accents. I didn't want to go for like a boring, monotonous, or I guess not monotonous, but monochromatic color scheme of just like brown and white. I mean, it could work because maybe Johnny Zest is a bit dull personality wise, but I wanted him to have like a bit more character and personality in my save file. So originally I'd see Johnny Zest as a very like questionable sim. I imagine he maybe uses sensitive topics as like the butt of his jokes, which, you know, not cool. He kind of like base game Johnny Zest reminds me of a comedian. I'm gonna put comedian in air quotes because I don't really think the stuff he talks about are funny, because it's kind of just bullying. But he reminded me of that. I'm not gonna name drop them because I don't know, that feels wrong. But essentially I was thinking he was kind of like a douchey sim, but for my save file I really wanted to revamp him and make him like an actually kind of down to earth human. I think he's definitely like, I'm not sure his jokes are maybe quite up there yet. Like I don't think he's making bank off of his stand-up comedy, but I think he actually is funny in a way that doesn't, you know, hurt or offend other people, you know. So I wanted him to be a actually nice fun sim in my save file with like a more of a redeeming personality than how I viewed him in the base game version. Now, the base game version, none of that has been confirmed. Like that is not the Sims team saying he is like that or anything. That is purely my assumption about him. I don't know why I have that assumption. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's his haircut. His haircut just screams like a little bit douchey to me. I do kind of keep that haircut, but revamp it a little bit on his makeover. But yeah, I wanted him to be a bit of a more, like a bit more emotionally in tune with his feelings, I guess, because the other one I was thinking just doesn't really like confront anything, talk about anything, doesn't really know how to be emotionally available, whereas this one I was thinking he kind of is. And yeah, I thought that would be a lot nicer, especially for the sim that is in the trailer we're going to move into next, just for their storyline, because I thought it would be very sweet if he was maybe more open and really likes to make the other girl in that trailer laugh, because, you know, maybe she's had a very hard past and he really wants to like, you know, help her and cheer her up, so he tries to like make jokes with her all the time and like just kind of be there for her, which I didn't think the base game version of Johnny Zest would have done that. And also, just as another disclaimer, if you guys aren't vibing with the storylines or the Sims that I have kind of envisioned living here, you can of course change anything about the storyline, anything about their personalities. This is, you know, the game is make it yourself, like create the worlds you want to create. This is what I came up with, and a storyline I thought would be fun to play with, and personalities I thought my save file needed. But of course, if you don't like them, you can change them, no pressure, and I will take no offense. And yeah, so that's the basic overview for Johnny Zest. we're kind of coming to a close on his room now, but for his room I really wanted to make sure that there was some kind of microphone, because that's how you can level up the comedy skill, and because he wants to be a comedian, of course he needed that. I used this one. This is either from high school years or businesses and hobbies, but it should be functional. It's a little bit cramped between like the dresser and his desk setup, but I'm pretty sure it should all be functional. The only thing that might not be functional is his dresser, just with the way I have it laid out, but you can change your Sims just by clicking on them. So it's not too necessary to have like a functional dresser, but I put it there just in case. But I personally don't ever really use dressers when I'm doing gameplay, so you guys might be the same, you might not. But for a couple of these desks, I kind of created like custom desks, I guess. So what I did basically is I took these shelves from Snowy Escape and these cabinets from Base Game, and I took the shelves and I, lowered them on the wall to the height of your classic table, because with the Sims certain objects have to be placed on certain surfaces. So for a computer it has to be placed on like a standard desk or dining table, and then your Sims can use it that way. So I basically set it up the way a normal desk would look. I took like the table, the computer, and the chair, and then I sized down just the table using the left bracket key to make it small, and then I tucked it underneath the shelf to make it look like the computer was actually sitting on the shelf instead of the desk, because this way I got much more of a built-in look. And then there is the little table at the bottom that you can see, but I think it just reads as like a footrest, so it doesn't really bother me too much. But if you have the tool mod, you could shrink it even more. And yeah, that's kind of the desk situation. It should be functional. I've seen a couple of people do this on like reels and whatnot, but if it doesn't work, well, then I guess you could just like delete the cabinets and size the table back up to its normal size, and it can be functional that way. But I really, like I mentioned, I wanted everything to feel built in, so I tried to create all this custom furniture just to have more of that vibe. And so for him, I thought it'd be cute if he had a little desk area, because I imagine he's more of like a freelancer and is like living from paycheck to paycheck, finding his individual gigs. And so he has this little setup with like his calendar to mark maybe when he has like a performance. And then I was also thinking, I use this cookbook from Home Chef Hustle, but I put the one that just looks like little notes, and I was thinking that maybe that's his comedy book and he like writes his jokes down and whatnot. And then I also gave him another tiny journal that I also think is his joke book. I don't know if any of you have watched Marvelous Miss Maisel. First off, brilliant show. Absolutely, oh my gosh, it's so good. I need to do a rewatch of it. Basically, if you guys know Gilmore Girls, the creators of Gilmore Girls also created Marvelous Miss Maisel, which basically means it's a great show because the creators are great, and I love like their sense of humor and whatnot. Basically, it's about, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it's about a woman who wants to be a comedian in, I think, like the 60s, and she has this really cute pink little notebook that she writes all of her jokes down in, and this one from the Everyday Clutter Kit that I put on Johnny Zest's desk really reminded me of that. So, from one comedian to another, I thought it was kind of a good little addition. I'm not the comedian, by the way. I'm saying Johnny Zest and Marvelous Miss Maisel are the comedians communicating. Wow, that's a mouthful. Hopefully you followed that train of thought. Basically, if you haven't watched Marvelous Miss Maisel and you like Gilmore Girls, you should watch it because it's really well made. And also, it's just like the 60s, so it has like the aesthetic of it is very nice. Of course, there's a lot of things wrong with the 60s. I'm not saying that there isn't, but like the visual aesthetic of the 60s with like all of the colors and the patterns, like the silhouettes of the dresses, gorgeous. I love it. And yeah, so highly recommend that show. And we've basically finished Johnny Zest's home, and now we have moved on into the third trailer, which ends up being for the young adult sim and the child sim. So like I mentioned, I was thinking it's a older sister taking care of her younger brother, but of course you can like change genders, change ages, change anything, completely up to you. But this is the plot I wanted to go for. I'm still on the fence about why they are living here instead of with maybe their parents. I don't know if like something tragic happened, maybe if they just distance, or yeah, I'm a little bit unsure. If you guys have any suggestions for that, you can let me know. I wasn't sure how sad I wanted it to be, I guess, but this storyline kind of reminds me of Sirens. I watch a lot of shows, okay? And I basically just finished the Netflix like short series called Sirens, and the basic plot, this isn't really a spoiler, is like the older sister had to take care of her younger sister when her parents couldn't, I guess. And so that's kind of what this was reminding me of. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to make it kind of accurate to these Sirens plot line. Not that these characters are like direct copies of the Sirens characters, but I wasn't sure if maybe I wanted to borrow that storyline or whatnot. But it is definitely a very sad, sensitive storyline. If you guys have watched it, you will know. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to spoil it, because it's kind of like a key part of the plot. Yeah, so I'm a little on the fence about how I want to take this storyline, like what direction. But basically, like I mentioned, this is the sim that I imagine Johnny Zest has a crush on. And I was thinking if I went the route where maybe they had more of a hard past, it would make sense why she's a bit more emotionally reserved and maybe not too willing to open up to people or necessarily looking for anything. And I thought it would be cute if Johnny Zest was trying to like break down the hard exterior, you know? So that was kind of the basic thinking. And I thought it'd be pretty sweet. I was thinking she works maybe at like a little cafe or like fast food place. Like I think she has a part-time gig because the other time she's like taking care of her brother, which is like basically a full job in and of itself. And yeah, so I was thinking she could work as like one of those part-time careers that you can have in the Sims that your teenagers can have, or adult Sims. There's a couple of different ones, maybe like fast food worker or like barista was kind of my thinking. And then that way like she maybe gets a couple more tips to help bring in a little bit of extra income. I'm not sure what her like dream career would be. I feel like she's kind of put that on the back burner to take care of her brother, but I feel like maybe she'd want to be a writer or something. I'm not too sure, but for the younger sim, I was thinking he's pretty chipper. I'm not sure, like if there was some traumatic stuff that had happened, I would think he was at a very young age, so doesn't necessarily remember much of any of it. So I feel like he's kind of still in this blissful phase of not really knowing what happened or like where his parents are, I guess. And I think his sister would work really hard at trying to create like a very warm, safe, happy environment for him so he never has to feel like there's a lack of anything in his life. And yeah, I just think their relationship would be very sweet. I think they spend all of their time together. She helps him with his homework. You know, he's like a nice little bundle of light for her because maybe she's still dealing with events of the past or whatnot, but you know, he brings a bit of joy into her life. So I thought that could be kind of sweet. Yeah, I really enjoy how their trailer came out. Theirs definitely looks like one of the most dated ones, I would say, just based on the tile I used on the floor. But I really like how it came out. It's super cluttered, it's super cozy, and I really like this little entrance area. I ended up having a lot more space in the center than I kind of thought I would. So what I did is I took this ironing board from Laundry Day and I rotated it using the tool mod to make it look like it had been folded out and the sim was actively, you know, working on ironing and folding clothes and whatnot, and I thought that was cute and added to the very lived-in feel of this trailer. And it's also not something I've done before, but I have seen Jessica Pye do it before. Like I've seen her do like the little folding out trick, and you know, it occurred to me, why don't I maybe try it? So I did, and I'm super happy I did because I think it's super cute. Now it's not at like a standard ironing table height, like your sim would have to be on their knees ironing probably, but you know, it's there for the aesthetic purposes. And also another little build trick I did is this thing right here, probably one of my favorite build hacks I've ever come up with. I came up with this with my own brain. There's a chance someone else might have done it as well, but you know, I haven't seen it. But basically I took this little scale that we got from, what is it from? I think it's the Home Chef Hustle stuff pack, game pack, stuff pack. And it's basically just this little scale with like the bowl, but there's different swatches to have like different ingredients in the bowl, but one of them kind of looked like cereal to me. And so what I did is I took this little bowl and then using the tool mod, I lowered it into the table a bit so you couldn't see the scale portion of it, and it just looked like a bowl. And then I put a little spoon beside it and a little mug, and it just looks like the sim is having cereal or like forgot to clean up their cereal. And what I love about this hack is that it's not going to go smelly, because it's not like one of those debug bowls that your Sims actually use that will go stinky if your Sims don't put it away. So I really liked that idea, and I was very happy that I came up with that, because I think it's very cute and I will be using it in many a build. And if any of you have the tool mod, feel free to use it. It's like such a fun little build hack. And yeah, so that's the little, I guess, entryway, dining room, living room situation. Well, actually the living room is more in the bedroom, which you can see now. I really struggled with the beds because I wanted there to be different swatches on the bed covers, but I wanted this specific type of wood so that the, what's it called? The sofa that I wanted to use from Parenthood would blend kind of seamlessly in. But with the beds I'm using in this very specific wood tone, I couldn't get different bed swatches, is basically what I'm trying to say. So they both end up having the same swatch of bed, but for the sister, I tried to put a couple of pillows and like a stuffed animal on it to sort of separate it from her brother's bed. You can, if you pay very close attention, you'll notice that the beds are two slightly different colors of blue, but it's not enough of a difference for me to be fully happy with it. But I'm trying to roll with it because I was trying to make things look built in, and I couldn't find this exact swatch on a bed anywhere else, at least not for a bunk bed with this same style of bed. I feel like that was a very long, confusing explanation that you probably didn't need, but essentially I wanted everything to be the same wood tone, so I had to settle for the same bed sheets. There's my little summary for you. And I took this shelf from Laundry Day, which has the same matching wood tone, and I sized it up a little bit so that it would fit more perfectly in the constraints of the bunk bed, so that once again it looks more built in. And it's got like all this little clutter on it, some pillows, some little baskets. I thought it was super cute, and I cluttered up the top of it as well, and I put it across from the couch so that the couch is facing the little shelf unit, and then on top of the shelf unit is the TV, so they have a little living room area, which I think is super cute. And then they just sleep on the bunk beds above. And yeah, I thought that was really nice. I really enjoyed that, and it felt very cozy to me. Also, I know we're fairly late into the video, but I feel like it applies now since I'm working on this trailer. Just as like a little disclaimer, I know I'm dealing with more of like a sensitive storyline here, but please know that this is never me trying to make fun of anyone who has experienced this situation currently or like in the past. This is never meant to make light of it. This is just one of those storylines that does happen in the real world that I wanted to bring into The Sims, since I am trying to make a bit more of a realistic save file. So just keep that in mind. It's never meant to be like me joking about this or making fun of people in this position. Just wanted to put that as a little disclaimer. But anyways, you can see that we are about to wrap up this little third trailer, and then we'll move on into the more rundown one, which there's not going to be too much to talk about for that one, given the fact that it is in fact run down and abandoned because no one lives there. I'm trying to think of maybe the last time someone might have lived there. I want to say maybe like 10-15 years ago it was occupied, and I don't know what happened to the people who used to live there. But I think there could be some mysterious, ominous vibes that we could add into the lore of that specific trailer, which you can see I've moved on into now. I opted for this base game paneling, which looks very worn and like, I guess, scuffed at the tops and bottoms of it, like it's been there for a while. And then I picked this tile, which is a base game tile, but I'm using the Strangerville version because it's got more of that grime to it. And then I'm using these counters, stove, and fridge from City Living. Now all of these have base game variants, but I'm using the City Living ones because those ones have like a lot more damage to them and look a lot more used, so I wanted to use those ones. And then I think, what else do I end up using? I'm trying to think about like the tables and chairs and whatnot, but I suppose we'll have to get to it. You can see that I still used or included laundry in here because I wanted it to, you know, still be functional and have like all the basic necessities. Oh yeah, for the table I used this base game one, and then these chairs from high school years. Are these meant to be high school desk chairs? Yes. Did I use them as dining chairs? Yes. Did I use them as dining chairs multiple times in this build? Once again, Yes. I don't know what it is, but they just felt like they could belong in here. Like, I feel like they could be bolted down to the floor if they needed. And I also just love that they have the, I guess, air quote, dirtier version, but the one with more of like the, you know, scuffs, scrapes, little markings, things like that. Like, they look a lot older, so I thought they would be fairly fitting. So I used that, and then I also used just the base game couch. It ends up being the same couch that I used in the last trailer, so I might actually end up switching that because it kind of bugs me that they're the same but like two completely different vibes. And then I also used this, a lot of the TVs I've been using have been this small one, which is from Get to Work. It's just like this wall mounted one, but I really like the ratio of it. It feels very much like a trailer, or sorry, like a TV you would find in a trailer. And yeah, so I used that, but I used the tool mod to make it look crooked, like it's kind of been knocked off of its original mounting, just, you know, to give more of that abandoned feel. And then the bathroom has all of the essentials except a mirror, but I put the mirror in this bedroom, so there is still a mirror in this build. And then I used these base game beds with this base game dresser setup. So I took like these two tall dressers and then this one smaller one that come in the same swatch, and then I just kind of adjusted their sizes with tool mod so that everything would fit more seamlessly into, you know, the spacing and whatnot, and that way the beds look more built in and things like that. And then I also just added a whole bunch of different wall markings from various packs, like werewolves, vampires, the basement kit, for rent. Yeah, all of those little wall decals that make the place look a bit more worn and rough around the edges. So yeah, that's basically all I did for that worn one. Like I mentioned, it's meant to be a sort of thing that you can renovate. But now we've moved on into the last trailer, which, as I previously mentioned, is for a bachelor type sim who I'm thinking is probably an adult sim. Definitely, I would think, I mean, The Sims doesn't have specific age numbers, they have like life stages, but I was thinking maybe middle 50s, late-ish 50s, who acts like he's a millionaire or was a millionaire. I'm not really sure, but his trailer, to me, I could be completely wrong on this, but felt very like 70s. I tried to give it a like mid-century sort of feel and have it be dated in that way rather than like dated with like the all wood paneling sort of way. This still has wood paneling, but I tried to go for more of like a mid-century sort of dated. But I really like how his space came out. I really like how beige it is. I know that sounds weird, but I just feel like, with all due respect to the sim, I feel like maybe they don't have the biggest personality. Like, I feel like they might be slightly boring. Like, I feel like they make money their whole personality, and you know, the sim no longer has the money that they used to have or something, so I feel like they're maybe slightly boring. And I thought the beige and brown color combo worked nicely for the sim that I had envisioned living here. And I really like the cabinets and stuff I used just from base game, but I feel like they worked really well for the mid-century sort of look I was going for. And yeah, so like I mentioned, they're like a bachelor. I think maybe they're sort of like a Don Lothario type of beat, but much older. Yeah, so I think they're probably single and maybe looking. I don't know if they're looking for a long-term partner, short-term partner, but yeah, they are a bachelor in like the adult life stage, I guess you could say. And I tried to decorate it so that they have more, I guess, collector looking items. Like, I wanted them to feel like very what is like artsy, or like just collector items, like one of a kind pieces that are a little bit abstract or like from ancient times or something. They could be complete knockoffs, which could be really funny because maybe he like boasts that they're like the real version but they're actually like a dupe. I feel like that could be funny. Or maybe they actually are, you know, real pieces of, like, say something you could find in Salvadorada. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but like that kind of world. So I thought that could be fun. I've recently been watching Andor. I say recently, I've actually finished Andor. My boyfriend and I were watching it, and one of the main characters in it runs this, I guess, collector's shop where they have all these ancient pieces from, like, you know, different time periods in the Star Wars realm. And I was kind of thinking that those types of pieces are what this sim would own, but in like the Sims version. I'm making a lot of references to shows that I realize a lot of you may have never seen or maybe have never even heard of, but you know, that's just where I've been getting my inspiration from. So hopefully you can still follow without having watched the shows. Like none of this is really plot essentials, just kind of like what inspired me or like connections I made as I was building this. But I really like the kitchen layout for this one. I like that there's a bit more of like an island situation where the dining table like rests behind it, I guess. I thought it was super cute. And then I also went crazy with the built-ins. I used the dryer and washer, like laundry machines, to be the supports for this desk that I have in the center, and then I use these growing together bookshelves as the built-in connector unit to the ceiling, if that makes sense, where again I tried to put more of those like collectible things. I think you could give this sim the collector's aspiration, where like they want to find all the collectibles in the world of the Sims. I think that could be fun to explore, or I would also maybe give them the serial romantic trait. This sim I haven't actually created in Create a Sim yet at the time I'm recording this. I'm not sure if I will have created them or not by the time this goes up. If you have seen a picture either now or prior, that means I've made them. If you have not, it means I have not. But I will at some point. And yeah, so there's not too much else to do to this build because it's basically just me finishing up this little cubby here, which I'm not sure this cubby actually works. There's a high chance it doesn't, but I thought it looked too cute not to include it because it's got like that little sunroof bit, which I absolutely love, and then the TV's facing it. So yeah, it might not be functional. That one I'm not too confident about, but your Sims can at least watch off of their bed. Like they can watch the TV off of the bed. But essentially, that is it for this build. There is still the tour, so if you want to see like a final walkthrough of everything, you can stay tuned for that. But I'm going to leave the voiceover here because I've been talking for basically an hour and I need a break. And a girl needs to stop yapping every now and again. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you have any comments or suggestions or things you want to see me build, make sure you leave it down below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you want to see some future content. And hopefully I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!